Imagine discovering a letter from Jesus himself one day. That's exactly what some ancient historians say happened. This incredible story is about a king named Abgar, who lived in a far-off kingdom called Edessa around 9 AD. King Abgar was suffering from a terrible illness that no doctor could heal, and in his darkest moment he heard about Jesus, a man who could perform miracles and heal the sick without using any medicine. King Abgar believed that Jesus was no ordinary man. He thought Jesus was either God himself or the Son of God. Out of sheer desperation, the king did something bold. He wrote a letter to Jesus, begging for healing, and even inviting him to escape to his kingdom, where he'd be safe from the angry people who wanted to harm him. Abgar wasn't just asking for a cure for his illness. He believed Jesus could save his entire kingdom. That's how strong his faith was. Imagine how scared the king must have been, battling a deadly disease and hoping against hope that this distant healer could save him. Jesus, despite being on a mission that would change the world, took the time to reply. In his letter back to the king, Jesus praised Abgar's belief, saying how blessed he was to believe in him even without seeing him. However, Jesus explained that he couldn't visit Abgar at that moment because he had to fulfill his purpose on earth first. But he promised something unbelievable. After Jesus ascended into heaven, he would send one of his disciples to heal the king and bring life to his people. After Jesus returned to heaven, he sent one of his followers, Thaddeus, to Edessa. Thaddeus performed the miracle that changed everything. Thaddeus not only healed King Abgar, but also converted his entire kingdom to Christianity. This was one of the very first times the Christian faith spread outside of the Jewish world. Imagine the kingdom's shock and excitement when the king, who had been on the verge of death, miraculously recovered. Some people question whether the letter Jesus wrote was real. Only what a historian named Eusebius wrote down hundreds of years later represents the original copies of the letters. Some experts wonder if the story is true or if it was just made up to inspire people's faith. Others say that even without the original letter, this story spread so widely, indicating a powerful event. It's like a legend that refuses to fade away no matter how much time passes. This ancient story gives us a lot to think about. It's not just about a letter, it's about faith, miracles, and how far belief in Jesus spread even in ancient times. A powerful message emerges from the fact that a king who never met Jesus believed in him and received healing as a result of his faith. It shows how faith can change not just a person's life, but entire communities. By the time these stories reached Edessa, Jesus' fame had grown, and his following was increasing. He was becoming more than just a healer. People were beginning to whisper that he was either God himself or the Son of God, as Abgar wrote in his letter. At this point, the king realized that if anyone could heal him, it would be Jesus. But there was one problem. Jesus was hundreds of miles away, deep in the heart of Judea, and danger was closing in on him. King Abgar made a bold decision. He would send a letter directly to Jesus, something unheard of at the time. His letter was filled with faith. He believed without hesitation that Jesus could save him. But it was more than just a plea for healing. Abgar, seeing the growing hostility against Jesus in Judea, invited him to escape the persecution and find safety in Edessa. In his letter, King Abgar wrote, "I have heard all those things about you. I considered that you are either God himself, who has come down from heaven to act like this, or that you are the Son of God, doing such things." Imagine the faith it took to believe this. At a time when very few people knew the full extent of Jesus' mission, Abgar saw beyond the rumors and persecution. He saw divine power. What happened next is the heart of this story and a testament to the power of faith. According to historical accounts, Jesus did something extraordinary. He responded, Despite being on a divine mission to fulfill his role on earth, Jesus acknowledged Abgar's faith. He wrote back, praising the king for believing in him without ever having met him. This kind of faith was rare and precious, and Jesus made it clear how important it was. Jesus said, "Blessed are you who have believed in me without having seen me, for it is written concerning me that those who have seen me will not believe in me, and that those who have not seen me will believe and be saved." This wasn't just a response to Abgar, it was a declaration to the world. Jesus was acknowledging that his message and miracles would reach far beyond Judea, beyond the Jewish people, to Gentile rulers like Abgar, and to everyone who had the faith to believe in him. However, Jesus made one thing clear: he couldn't come to Edessa himself. He had to first complete his mission in Judea. But he promised that after his ascension into heaven, he would send one of his disciples to heal Abgar and bring life to his people. A miraculous fulfillment of this promise was imminent. King Abgar lived in a world where legends of miraculous healings spread from village to village and kingdom to kingdom. Yet, in the case of Jesus Christ, those miracles weren't just stories, they were real. For King Abgar of Edessa, this truth became more than just hopeful hearsay. It became the path to salvation, both for his body and his soul. At the heart of this narrative lies the deeper concept of healing and the far-reaching impact of salvation. These two ideas aren't just central to this particular story, but to the entire Christian faith. The healing of King Abgar wasn't merely physical, it was a powerful symbol of spiritual renewal that extended far beyond the king's personal life. Healing, particularly in biblical terms, is not just about curing illness, it is about restoration, both of the body and the spirit. In ancient times, people often perceived illnesses not only as physical afflictions, but also as spiritual trials. When Jesus healed someone, he not only made their body whole, but also restored their connection to God. For King Abgar, his illness was not just a personal tragedy, his entire kingdom was watching. His people were waiting for a miracle. In this sense, his healing represented much more than just recovery from disease. It was a demonstration of divine power that transcended physical boundaries. When Thaddeus, the disciple sent by Jesus, healed Abgar, it became a moment of spiritual awakening for the entire kingdom of Edessa. But what makes this story so much more than just an account of a miraculous cure is the concept of salvation. Salvation in Christian belief refers to the deliverance from sin and its consequences. It's about eternal life, granted through faith in Jesus Christ. For King Abgar, his healing opened the door not just to physical relief, but to spiritual redemption. Jesus promised in his letter that he would send a disciple to heal King Abgar, but the promise extended beyond the king's physical healing. It was for something much larger, the salvation of his soul and his kingdom. The miracle of healing was in fact a gateway to something even more profound, the introduction of Christianity to Edessa. Jesus' letter to Abgar is crucial here. He acknowledges the king's faith, even though Abgar had never seen him in person. This faith, believing without seeing, is what Jesus called blessed. This faith not only brought salvation to the king, but also to the entire kingdom. King Abgar's healing, then, is a symbol of how faith in Jesus can lead to eternal life. One of Jesus' disciples, Thaddeus, fulfilled the promise of healing after his ascension into heaven. Now, let's take a moment to understand the significance of Thaddeus' role. He was one of the 70 disciples sent out by Jesus to spread the message of the gospel. Thaddeus not only had to heal King Abgar, but also spread the good news of Jesus Christ to a whole people who had never heard it before. When Thaddeus arrived in Edessa, he didn't come with medical knowledge or magical remedies. He came with the power of faith. The act of healing wasn't just a miracle for the king. It was a sign that Jesus' message of salvation was real. For the people of Edessa, seeing their king restored to health was evidence that the power of Jesus was alive and at work, even beyond his earthly presence. This moment also illustrates an important biblical theme, the continuation of Jesus' work through his disciples. Even after Jesus had ascended to heaven, the healing power he had on earth continued through those who believed in him. Thaddeus wasn't just a messenger, he was an instrument of Jesus' ongoing mission to heal the sick and bring salvation to the world. Thaddeus' healing of King Abgar transformed the entire kingdom of Edessa. Thaddeus' healing of their ruler signaled to the people the veracity of Jesus' power and message. The kingdom's conversion to Christianity marked one of the first instances of the Christian faith spreading outside the Jewish lands. This was more than just a personal victory for Abgar. It was a cultural and spiritual shift for the entire region. The miracle came, but not in the way anyone expected. Jesus didn't come to Edessa himself. His mission in Judea was far from over. Instead, he made a promise. In his response, Jesus told King Abgar that though he couldn't come in person, he would send a disciple after him, someone who would heal the king and bring new life to his kingdom. One of Jesus' 70 disciples, Thaddeus, took on the task of fulfilling this promise. He wasn't a doctor or a magician. He didn't come with potions or cures. He came with faith and the power of Jesus. When Thaddeus arrived in Edessa, he didn't just offer words of comfort, he brought something much greater. King Abgar received healing when Thaddeus laid his hands on him. This was a miracle. The sickness that had plagued Abgar for so long vanished, and with it, the fear that had gripped his people. The kingdom of Edessa saw their king restored to full health, and the message was clear. This was no ordinary act of healing. This was the power of faith, the kind of divine intervention that changes everything. The miracle didn't stop with King Abgar. Word spread quickly, and soon people from all over the kingdom came to see this disciple of Jesus. One by one, they brought their sick, their wounded, and their broken-hearted, and each time Thaddeus, empowered by Jesus' promise, healed them. These acts transformed the entire kingdom. It wasn't just about curing physical ailments, it was about restoring hope, renewing faith, and bringing salvation to a people who had never known it. King Abgar's healing was the spark that set the entire kingdom on a path toward Christianity, and it spread like wildfire through the region. These miracles weren't just a sign of physical restoration, they were proof that the power of Jesus' message could reach beyond borders, beyond cultures, beyond anything people thought was possible. This changed everything for the people of Edessa. The miraculous acts that Thaddeus performed didn't just heal bodies, they healed souls. They showed that the power of faith could cross any distance, touch any heart, and change any life. The miracles in Edessa marked the beginning of a movement that would spread far beyond its borders. Christianity would soon reach into the furthest corners of the world, and it all started with one act of faith, a king who believed in Jesus without ever seeing him. Edessa became one of the earliest centers of Christianity in the East, and its influence would ripple through time, helping to spread the faith to new lands and new peoples. These weren't just isolated events. They were the beginning of something much larger. This faith, the kind that can heal, transform, and inspire, lives on today. It's the same faith that can break down barriers, heal deep wounds, and turn hopeless situations into testimonies of victory. The story of Edessa wasn't just about one man's healing. It was about the spread of a message that would reach far beyond its borders. Christianity, once centered in the lands of Judea, began to ripple outward, touching the lives of people across nations, cultures, and languages. King Abgar's healing served as a catalyst for the spread of faith, demonstrating that Jesus' message was applicable to everyone, irrespective of their background or identity. King Abgar believed without seeing, and his faith resulted in healing for his entire kingdom. The lesson is that faith opens us to the impossible. This story is a powerful reminder that the greatest miracles often come when we least expect them, when we choose to believe in the unseen and trust in the promises of something greater. The story of King Abgar, Thaddeus, and the miraculous healing in Edessa is more than just a historical account. It's a legacy of faith, a testament to what can happen when belief overcomes doubt and when hope shines in the darkest of times. This legacy continues to inspire, reminding us that the power of faith can ripple through history, transforming lives and shaping futures. I hope you enjoyed this video. Become part of our community by subscribing to our channel. Until the next video.